Hey Tigers, welcome to one of our next lessons. We are starting Unit 2, which is all about using our numbers to multiply, divide, and solve some word problems. So today we're going to start with some new multiplication. And like I love to do, I'm not going to give you just one way of doing it, I'm going to give you 3. And then you get to choose the one that works best for you. But we need to be familiar with all 3 because you never know what they're going to show us on a test. So today we're going to start with our first method of multiplication, and that is called your standard algorithm. But before we start, I want to introduce my guest today. I want everyone to say, hey, 4th period.
Hey, 4th period.
They're so silly, they just said hey to themselves. So, my 4th period is here working with us today. They're going to be taking these notes along with us and asking questions as they have them, and hopefully they're the same questions you might have so you get some answers that you need. The first thing we're going to do is start off by labeling our page. Hopefully you're taking notes at home. If not, please start doing so now so you have this to look back at when you are trying to do practice problems and homework. Now, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, we are going to start with our first type of multiplication, and that is going to be called our standard algorithm. Please write this down on your page. Now, algorithm, that's a weird, big word. I get it. We might not have ever seen this word before, and that's okay. But the word algorithm is just another word for process. So this is going to be your standard, old school way of doing multiplication. If you talk to your parents at home, this is most likely how they learned multiplication. It's certainly how I learned it. So this is what we call standard. Now, standard is going to be similar to when we multiply 2 digits by 1 digit, but now we're going to be stepping it up. So for our standard algorithm, we're going to do a practice problem, and that is going to be 315 times 4. And we're going to figure out what that equals. Now, for the standard algorithm, we're not going to set it up like this, though. We want to make sure we set it up vertically so that we can use all of our steps correctly. So our first thing to do is rewrite our problem in the way we're going to solve it. So that's going to be 315 times 4. Now notice I'm leaving a lot of space. I'm making my numbers nice and big and neat. That's because that's the way I'm going to avoid mistakes. If I'm trying to squish things into tiny spaces, or I'm not using my lines to keep things straight and even, it's going to make my math very difficult, and it's going to set me up for some easy mistakes. We don't want that. So once I have my problem set up, I know I always have my smaller factor on the bottom, and it's always pushed to the ones column. I'm going to start by multiplying each place value by our factor, or multiplier we can call it, which is the number we're multiplying by. So I'm going to start with my first 2 digits. 5 times 4. Who can tell me what that's going to give me? 20. Good. So I put the 0 down here. I do not put the 0 next to it. I carry it over. The 2 over. So the 2 gets carried over. Now I'm going to move over a bit. I'm going to do 4 times 1 this time. 4 times 1 gives me 4. But what do I have to do before I write it as my product?
Add the 2, yeah. And then you times the 4 as a then. Yeah.
You got it. So we're going to multiply the 4 times the 1, and then like she said, we're going to add the 2 to that answer. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 2 is 6. Now my last step, I got to share the love with my last digit, which is in the hundreds place. So that's 4 times 3. What is 4 times 3? 12. So I don't have any numbers to carry it over on top of, so I'm just going to put my 12 right here as my product. I have no more numbers to multiply, no more multipliers, so my final answer is 1,260. Do I have any questions about my standard algorithm?
Why do you have to add it by 2?
We have to add the 2 because we carried it over from our first product. So when we got 5 times 4, that gave us 20. But we're only working in the ones column. So the 0 from 20 went down here. And just like when we're adding, we had to carry the extra, the tens digit, over to the tens column. So the 0 went here, and the 2 and 20 got moved up to the top. Then we add that in with our product to get the total 6. That clear it up a little bit? Okay, good. Yes?
So can you do higher numbers? Like
We-
10, 9, or 8?
We can do bigger numbers. And we're gonna get into that pretty soon. But first we wanna make sure we have this mastered before we step it up a notch. So we're gonna do one more question together. At home, I want you to copy down the question, then pause your video. I want you to try and answer it on your own before you press play and see my answer. That way you know if you're understanding it well or if you need a little more practice. My class is gonna do the same thing. Please copy down the next question that you're gonna solve. The next one we are gonna solve is gonna be 246 times 5. 246 times 5. Who can tell me what my first step is that I'm gonna do again?
You gotta do it downward.
I gotta line it up vertically. Now in my class, we call, when it's lined up horizontally, what do we call that? Moana style, because Moana is all about that line where the sun meets the sea. That's called the horizon. It's horizontal. We don't want to multiply like this. We want to multiply vertically, up and down. So we're going to rewrite this 246 times 5. Just like we did in our first example. Are we doing okay, class?
Yes.
Great. So now, what is my first step for this one? What's my first step that I'm going to do?
You wanna add 5 times 6.
All right, we said add 5 times 6. Who can tweak his answer a little bit?
We have to multiply 6 times 5.
Yeah.
Multiply. So we're going to multiply 5 times 6, and that's going to give us what answer?
30.
30. So the 0 goes down here, and Miss Rael, where does my 3 go from 30?
It goes on top of the 4.
Perfect. It goes on top of the 4.
Do you still add
We will still add it in the next step. So now we're going to multiply what 2 numbers?
The 4 and the 5?
The 4 and the 5. Do I multiply the 3 and the 5?
No.
No, it's just hanging out up there, but it's not going to get multiplied by anything. So we do 4 times 5. That gives me what product? 20. But I'm not going to write 20 down here. What do I have to do first?
You have to write the 0 down, and then you have to carry the 2 over to the hundreds place.
So he says I should write the 0 down here and carry the 2 over. Does anyone have a different idea of what we should do? Does anyone think it should go differently? Jeremiah?
You have to add the 3 and the 4.
We have to add the 3, not the 3 and the 4. We multiply 4 times 5, that gives us 20. Then we add in the 3 to that product. So that's going to give me 23. Again, it's a double-digit answer. So the 2 gets carried over to my next column, the hundreds column. So far, so good, class?
Yes.
Okay, hopefully you're doing just as well at home. My last step is to multiply 2 times 5. 2 times 5 gives me what product?
10.
10. And then I have to add in my 2. So that's going to become
12.
So our final product, using our standard algorithm, is 1,230. Show me hands, are we feeling good, or not so great about this method?
No.
All right, for you at home, I see a lot of thumbs up and just a couple sideways. So my advice for that, please practice this at home. You guys are all gonna have this video available to you. Everyone at home, you have this video available to re-watch as you need to. Make up your own problems. If you have dice at home, roll the dice and see what digits come up and then multiply them. You're welcome to check it with the calculator, but using a calculator to solve the problems is not going to help you. If you're still having trouble, talk to your teacher, and we'll get some extra practice together. Now that's our first method of multiplication. That's called our standard algorithm. Stay tuned. Our next video is going to teach you the second method. Good luck practicing. I'll see you soon.